I did residential landscape design and installation for about 10 years. I have a master's degree in landscape architecture, and I have worked at native plant nurseries, various civil engineering firms, and large commercial landscape companies. So my position at the Water Authority allows me to do a little bit of everything and share some of my knowledge with you appreciative people. My experience with desert-friendly plants makes it easier to convince our customers to transform their lawns, which is the best way to save water in our city, which averages 7 to 10 inches of rainfall per year. So today I'm going to review the benefits of converting lawns to desert-friendly xeriscapes, how the generous rebate works, some tips on designing your yard and selecting plants. There's also will be a brief discussion on the importance of preserving and planting trees for our city. So please consider changing up your unused turf grass. Many customers I meet with tell me they are tired of having a not great looking lawn that requires weekly mowing, lots of water, money, and chemicals. So as a reminder, we are in a drought currently. Our reservoirs and snowpacks are at historic lows, and our governor just declared a drought. So there's a lot everybody can do, some of which is covered today. The best alternative to lawns is desert-friendly plants that use up to 50 to 80% less water than grass. Our rebate can offset a significant portion of the cost of that transformation. Now, an application and in-person inspection are required for this rebate before you remove the grass. So if you have any questions about it, be sure to contact me before you stop watering your lawn, get started with any work, or sign a contract with an installer. Our experts and resources are available to assist you in planning your project, so please send plant and irrigation questions to our Ask an Expert email address, and one of our staff will provide an answer within a few days. We have several other great rebates that are very simple to apply for, so please check out our website at 505outside.com. So in this first section, I'll review a few of the benefits that are achieved by converting a lawn to a healthy, desert-friendly xeriscape. So sprinkler irrigation is very inefficient. A measure of its efficiency is called the distribution uniformity, which means how evenly the water is applied. I was surprised to learn that an excellent distribution uniformity is considered 70%, and I don't know of any other field where a C- is considered excellent. So hundreds of irrigation audits that have been performed around town show that the average distribution uniformity is about 50%. So for these lawns to not have brown spots, they need to have double the amount of water it actually needs to keep them uniformly green. The yard in this image uses less than half the amount of water than a properly watered lawn, and probably a quarter of the water of an average lawn. So lawns require a huge amount of maintenance on a weekly basis, such as mowing, edging, weeding, and adjusting and repairing sprinklers. Then there are the other seasonal requirements, such as aerating, fertilizing, and pest and weed management. Not to mention that the equipment used needs regular maintenance. On the other hand, learning about the needs of individual low water plants can be interesting and satisfying, and I encourage everyone to build up their plant knowledge and landscape knowledge through the Water Authority's website. So desert-friendly xeriscapes do require regular maintenance, and there's no such thing as a no-maintenance yard, no matter what type. Besides spending a few minutes every week checking your xeriscape for weeds and ensuring that drip emitters are working, xeriscapes usually only require a few seasonal maintenance sessions, like a spring cleanup. So the landscape in this image contains rainwater use only plants. As you can imagine, if you don't need to water your yard with an irrigation system, then water waste is completely eliminated. Our Xeriscape guide shows which plants are rainwater only, denoted with an RW in the plant column. Speaking of water waste, we rely on you all to report water waste such as overspray, broken sprinklers, and water in parking lots and streets. We recently launched a mobile app for reporting water waste. And so check out our website for instructions or call 842-9287 option 5 to note the location and time of day for water waste. Currently, spray irrigation is prohibited between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. So water can be damaging to many built structures, such as stucco walls, wood trim, asphalt parking lots, and other hardscape elements. Sprinkler irrigation is responsible for much of this damage due to bad design, poor maintenance, and management. If anyone has had to pay to have their parking lot seal coated recently, you know how expensive it can be. Sprinkler overspray and runoff are responsible for most parking lot damage. So compare this image to the first slide of the presentation of a typical Albuquerque lawn, which is usually a mix of random grass species and weeds with lots of brown patches and grub damage. The warmer our city gets, the harder it will be to keep uniform bluegrass lawns looking good. Also, the population of lawn pests like grubs is increasing as our winters get warmer. So New Mexico's natural beauty and climate is hard to beat, and it's why many people live and move here. We feel that we should embrace the unique and dramatic beauty that the climate and desert-friendly plants provide. Trying to grow cool season grass ultimately takes a lot of time and money. Why not have a yard that fits with the natural beauty of our unique region and contains plants which are adapted to and thrive in our dry alkaline soils, intense sun, and extreme temperature swings? So it's not just about you. Your yard serves many aspects of the ecosystem, like insects, birds, mammals, and healthy soil microbes. Lawns provide very little resources for wildlife. Desert-friendly xeriscapes, on the other hand, attract tons of species, create healthy soils that absorb rainwater, and shade the ground to make a diverse and rich environment. I'm sure you have all heard about our declining population of insects and pollinators. So transforming your lawn is one of the best ways to create a thriving backyard habitat. So most neighborhoods in Albuquerque up until the early 1990s had front yard lawns. Now it's fairly rare for houses to have them. One of the biggest ways that the Xeriscape conversion program is promoted is by word of mouth. Often when one person converts their yard, it inspires many of their neighbors to do the same after seeing the results and savings from the Xeriscape conversion. You can be an inspiration to your neighborhood and family by setting an example. So what is a Xeriscape anyway? Xeriscape is meant to be a series of principles and not a particular look. Think of xeriscaping as a set of principles like healthy eating guides, whereas half of your plate should be veggies and fruits of varying types and colors. Like xeriscape, in that half of your yard should be covered by plants and trees that are a variety of medium, low, and very low water use plants, drip irrigation, and some type of mulch. Xeric, the root word for xeriscaping, is Greek for dry, and it makes my job a lot harder that xeric rhymes with zero. So that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, is trying to convince people that they are unrelated, and we don't want, we're not aiming for yards that are completely gravel with no plants, and that actually would be a xeriscape. So xeriscaping is water efficient landscaping appropriate to the natural environment. So these design spaces are enjoyable and used throughout the year that include regionally appropriate plants that use then less than half the amount of water of a traditional landscape. Efficient irrigation, mulches, rainwater harvesting, and proper maintenance are also part of keeping these landscapes looking good and efficient. For a large portion of our history, residents of Albuquerque were encouraged to water extensively, given the belief that the city was perched on an aquifer the size of a submerged Lake Superior. The thinking was, let's water a lot and make everything green to help cool and beautify the city. Residents were even given lower water rates in the summer to encourage watering. Yes, this is a real poster from the era of Miami Vice and when sailboarding was the hot new sport. Even into the late 1980s, many housing developments required high water use lawns to be installed and maintained in front and backyards. Based on the belief that there was an endless supply of water, most trees planted in Albuquerque were large, high water use species. At one point, Albuquerque boasted one of the largest tree covers at over 40%, compared to Denver, Colorado at the time, which had about a 10% cover. In the early 90s, new aquifer mapping revealed that it's much smaller than originally thought, and conservation programs were created to help preserve our water supply. This included the Lawn to Xeriscape conversion program, which began in 1996. So next I'm going to touch on the Lawn to Xeriscape conversion program qualifications, requirements, and why they're important. To qualify for the Lawn to Xeriscape conversion program, you only need to have currently cared for sprinkler irrigated lawn that uses water from the Water Authority, not a private well. The three main requirements are convert your sprinklers to drip irrigation, 50% coverage of new low water use plants at maturity, and 3-inch depth of mulch such as gravel, wood chips, or crusher fines. If you're interested in converting your lawn and receiving a $3 per square foot rebate, here's what is needed for the application and the process. First, you'll measure the grass that's going to be transformed. Then design your new yard or hire a landscape designer to do it. You'll need a plant and quantities list also. Then submit your application on 505outside.com using your Water Authority account number. Then schedule an initial inspection with me. Once I have visited your yard before the grass is removed, you can start your project. After completion, you'll schedule a final inspection for me to stop by. The rebate appears as a lump sum credit on your account within 3 months and is non-transferable. So if you were to move, the credit stays with the property. So as noted in the previous slide, an initial inspection of the lawn is required to qualify, and my most important job duty is ensuring that our customers' funds are being used correctly. This rebate is meant to incentivize the conversion of high water use sprinkler irrigated lawns into desert-friendly landscaping. To ensure this, it is important to document the lawn in a currently cared for state, and this also helps to enable us to track the water savings. Unfortunately, I get calls every week from people who have stopped watering last year or already completed the work. These yards don't qualify for the rebate. Turning off your sprinklers will save a ton of water and money on your bill, but we cannot provide an incentive for landscapes that are not currently cared for and irrigated. Even though this rebate has been around for almost 30 years and we have ongoing marketing and educational efforts, many folks are unaware of the generous program. So please help us spread the word so well-intentioned folks can receive the rebate they deserve. A question I get every week is, why do I need new plants? New plants will need water. I thought the goal was to save water. Well, the goal is to save water, but it's also to reduce the urban heat island effect, which shows that city temperatures due to lots of asphalt, concrete, and gravel are up to 9 degrees hotter in the city than outside of it. The result of these temperature increases is everyone has to water their yard more. For every 18-degree increase, trees need double the amount of water. And everybody must turn on their swamp coolers earlier in the day and earlier in the year. So we don't want to incentivize gravelscapes that exacerbate this situation and require our 225,000 accounts to use more water. And one of the best ways to help combat the urban heat island effect is to have plants that shade the ground. With regards to our warming climate and urban heat island effect, I'm relaying an example from Dr. Marissa Thompson at New Mexico State of what a 1-degree increase in temperatures can have. In the previous slide, the heat island map showed some areas of town are up to 9 degrees hotter. This example is just for City Parks Department maintained grass. Early estimates on the amount of lawn present in the city are around 7,000 acres. So you can do the math and see how much more water is needed on them due to the urban heat island effect. So spreading gravel is a difficult job, and you'll need 2,000 pounds for every 100 square feet. It's also detrimental to your yard and the city as a whole. It's very expensive too and requires maintenance. Removing it is also more costly than installing it. And weeds love gravel. In fact, the State Highway Department has figured out the best way to revegetate roadsides and get the most successful seed germination is to have a thin layer of gravel on top of the reclamation seeding. Many gravels have a lot of dust and dirt, or it inevitably blows in along with weed seeds. The dust and dirt make it even easier for the weed seeds to sprout. As the old farmer's adage goes, 1 year's weed equals 7 years seed. Yes, weeds will grow very well on top of weed fabric, and there is nothing uglier and more difficult to maintain than gravel that is full of weeds. We have a number of articles within the landscape tips section of our website on managing weeds. Just type weeds into the search box to find them. Excuse me. So what about artificial turf? As far as the lawn to Xeriscape conversion rebate, the short answer is no, and the long answer is yes. Artificial turf is not the type of landscape that most experts think is best for our city, and therefore we don't incentivize its installation, with a caveat. You can have a patch within the conversion area if you are still able to meet the plant replacement requirement. The same is true if you want to have a patio, pathways, or raised garden beds within the rebate conversion area. Issues with artificial turf are it's incredibly hot, very expensive, and cannot be recycled, and provides no ecological value. Installation often conflicts with an existing tree's roots and long-term tree health. Artificial turf is also a huge source of microplastics and so-called forever chemicals. It usually only lasts for 10 years in our powerful sunshine, despite the manufacturer's claims. And unfortunately, good installation of this material is critical and is often done incorrectly, as seen on the picture on the left. 700 square feet of artificial turf can cost up to $10,000 over its 10-year lifespan. That area of green grass plastic costs $1,000 a year if you do the math. For most people, artificial turf is not recommended. And if you don't believe me, see the New York Times Consumer Review article on it. Many folks really want this product in the yard, and no judgment if you decide to add it, but I would encourage you to go with a reputable installer and high quality product. I frequently see lousy installations that have exposed seams and wrinkles. So an important question to ask yourself is, what is the ideal landscape for you and your city? What elements should be included? Is it regionally appropriate? And is it efficient? Does it benefit the ecosystem? And does it provide benefits for the entire city? Everyone has their own idea what their ideal landscape should be. As an example, for me, I would like my yard to be mostly covered by low water and rainwater use only plants, drip irrigation, passive rainwater harvesting, and a few cherry tomato plants, which I find are the easiest tomatoes to grow here. The image on the left is from Albuquerque. The palm trees died in one of our cold winters, and the front yard grass isn't a soccer field or city park. It provides only a visual appeal to make it seem like we don't live in a desert. The Water Authority is not anti-lawn. It's against lawn that isn't essential for recreation or physical enjoyment. So having a small patch of lawn in a backyard that supports an enjoyable, cool outdoor space and trees can be appropriate. Non-functional turf, or lawn that only provides visual appeal or can't be enjoyed in other ways, is considered non-functional. You wouldn't want to play frisbee or have a picnic with your family in the areas pictured above. So start thinking about converting all or part of your existing lawn, but go slow. Spend time evaluating your yard and thinking of what you would like it to be. It's a big mistake to rip out all the lawn without a solid plan in place. A few tips to begin this process are: review our article on the 505 Outside website titled Simple Steps to Get Started Designing Your Yard. Once you have made some design decisions, consider using marking paint or hoses to lay out the paths or areas you want. Then spend a few days walking around them to see how they feel. Also, consider what parts of an upgrade you can do yourself, which can save a lot of money. Consider using recycled materials such as wood chip mulch, which can be free or much lower cost than gravel. Another way to save money is propagating your own plants or digging up volunteer plants for friends and neighbors. Also, meet with contractors or landscapers in the winter so you can get on their schedule the following season. You don't need to wait until it's 80 degrees. They will thank you for it. So now is a great time to get inspired to make changes and additions to your yard and gather information. We recommend walking in neighborhoods with nicely xeriscaped yards and taking pictures. Also visit local nurseries and botanic gardens, noting which landscape elements you like. There are also great books by local authors on desert-friendly plants and landscaping. Please don't forget to review our landscape tips articles by local experts and staff on the 505 Outside website. Other planning steps for transforming your yard can include studying the microclimate and sunshine at different times of the year. Cold areas where snow remains can also be the wettest and have better soil, a good place for a higher altitude plant, whereas spots that the snow melts fastest should be considered good locations for plants that like hot, dry conditions. Also, identify areas where water collects and plan on passive water harvesting features that direct rainwater to planting beds or trees. So as a reminder, here are just the few free resources we offer. Our popular xeriscaping guide can be downloaded from our website. Most of the guide is about plants that thrive in our area and includes a master plant list with details on over 600 plants. Ask an expert email. Send your plant and irrigation questions to that email address shown on the screen. 505outside.com, the Water Authority's dedicated yard and garden website. It's a great place to get started with information about our rebates and efficient best landscape practices. Also, please sign up for our monthly newsletter that features landscape tips and the plant of the month. So because of the harsh growing conditions Albuquerque trees face, the Water Authority is taking additional steps to educate its customers on how to properly irrigate trees, the importance and value of mature trees in our city. Some steps taken include our conservation department created a new staff position, Water Use Efficiency Specialist. This expert provides education to our customers on how to have a beautiful yard with less water and by providing free in-person consultation and educational events. Irrigation audits and a water-saving analysis are available for larger sites. The Conservation Department also created an irrigation efficiency guide. This document is available for download from our 505outside.com. This 60-page guide covers all aspects of irrigation, such as equipment, budgeting, scheduling, and maintenance. The guide also includes lots of information dedicated to tree irrigation and tree health. So next, I will briefly review how to apply for the desert-friendly xeriscape conversion rebates. Step 1 is go to 505outside.com. You'll click on rebates, then click on residential, then desert-friendly conversions. Next, you'll register with our rebate application website. You'll also need your Water Authority account number. Next, you will see a page with numerous icons representing the different rebates available to our customers, and you will click on the Xeriscape icon. Once you have clicked on the Xeriscape icon, you are on the application itself. Part of it is shown on this slide. The application has a series of questions, including the number of square feet you are converting and a place to upload the landscape design. If you need help measuring the grass to be removed, please email me. There's also a section to list the new plants you're going to install. Once you have added enough plants, you can submit it on the website. For the plant requirement, we have a point system where each plant is assigned a number of plant points based on their water usage and size, shown with a red arrow on the slide. Once you hit the Submit button, You will receive an email stating the application has been submitted. I'll then review the application and reply with openings I have in my inspection schedule. We'll coordinate a time for me to document the lawn before you stop caring for it and go over any questions you might have about the process or the project, like irrigation conversion, plant choices, preserving mature trees, or other concerns. So this next section discusses tips and considerations for selecting plants. In a recent customer survey, many stated that they feel unsure or overwhelmed when it comes to selecting plants for their yard. The right plant in the right place is a popular saying that concisely sums up the importance of understanding the site and plant's preferences. I often hear our customers say that they have given up fixing their yard because the last plants they purchased died. The most important aspect of plant selection is understanding the conditions of your yard at different times of the year. So microclimate is key. Become familiar with the temperature differences in your yard at different times of the year and how various aspects of the site are affecting the temperature, like sun, shade, wind, and reflected heat. The image on the left is of a hot microclimate in the summer due to the open exposure and adjacent street and parking lot. This is the most difficult site to grow turf and keep it alive looking good. And to keep it alive and looking good, it requires a lot of water. The image on the right shows how a microclimate can be manipulated with lawn, shade, and wind protection to create a cooler spot where even a Japanese maple can survive. So unlike house cats, plants can't move to a warmer spot if they get the urge. Try to have plant empathy. What are the conditions where the plant is native to? Try to match the planting location to the conditions where that plant naturally thrives. So ocotillo is a classic desert plant that thrives in hot, dry conditions and is native to the southern part of our state. Albuquerque is a little too cold for this interesting plant, but when planted in a hot location, such as a south-facing wall, it can thrive, but dies quickly when planted in a cool, shady spot, like the picture on the right. These ocotillos were planted under a large shade tree, and they quickly died. Ocotillos are one of the more expensive plants also, so you do want to consider where they're going before you purchase them. The next important aspect of selecting plants is to understand that some of them thrive in some soils and not others. Drainage is another term frequently used when describing soils. Observe or test various parts of your yard for drainage, compaction, and the amount of clay and sand. Remember, many building sites have imported fill soils, which are different from the native soils. Don't assume yours will be the same as your neighbor's or even consistent throughout the yard. So above is an example of a site with sandy soils, but where the tractor has driven over them, they are likely very compacted. And the plant that prefers good drainage, like an English lavender, might not thrive in that spot. Once you understand the microclimates and soils of your yard, the other aspects of plant selection are fun and mostly personal preference. So now that you understand the basic conditions in your yard, focus on selecting plants that are rainwater and low water use. These native and adapted plants can look great with little or no supplemental irrigation once established. The native shrubs in the foreground receive drip irrigation for 2 seasons and then 0 supplemental watering after that. Compare this to the high water use landscape in the background that receives at least 4 feet of water. This is at a golf course on Albuquerque's west side, and they have enjoyed benefits that you could too. Since this course began converting out of play areas to xeriscapes, we've seen it save money, over $1 million, and save water, over 300 million gallons. They also reduced maintenance and labor costs, increased the beauty, and updated the look, which is more regionally appropriate. Additionally, the plants shade the ground and reduce local and citywide heat increases. They have also seen a lot more wildlife, raptors, quail, songbirds among them. Now, you're not going to save $1 million at your house, but you can reduce your water bill quite a bit by removing your lawn. The next few slides are going to highlight a handful of desert-friendly plants perfectly suited to your environment. So when I was a landscaper, homeowners often said they wanted long-lasting color in their yard. And as we saw in the earlier slide, a lot of color is possible, but the bloom time is going to be shorter than in other parts of the country. If you want a lot of flower color from spring to fall, it can be accomplished, but you're really going to need to become a part-time gardener. That's someone who is cutting off spent flowers, called deadheading, sometimes hand watering, and perhaps fertilizing to maximize blooms. It's more than just our low rainfall. It's our alkaline soils and dry air. It's just too much work to keep alive a plant that is not adapted to our environment. You can't really change the soil from alkaline to acidic. It takes a dump truck to do that. And even then, it's the lack of humidity and too much UV rays. This slide is an excellent example of desert-friendly plants, shrubs, and trees arranged in a visually appealing way. The Chinese pistache tree in the back shades the house and cools the yard, which slows down the evaporation rate of the surrounding soil. Underneath it, the yucca's thin leaves contrast to the thicker ones on the agave, which is on the right. The agave's silvery blue form is highlighted by the red fall color of the sumac in front, which stays low and doesn't block the other plants. So it's the different leaf shapes, colors, and heights that all contribute to this picture, and none of the plants are quote-unquote flowering. Some other attributes to consider include overall plant form, seed head, bark texture, just to mention a few. So these grama grass seed heads glow in the afternoon light, especially with a dark backdrop behind them. And now we have two plants that are very low water use. We have them listed as rainwater only in our Xeriscape guide. So you're going to want to hand water them to get them established and an occasional drink during long dry periods. But these are two good options if you have an area that's hard to get drip irrigation to, like the far side of a concrete driveway. Typically, I would only plant a cactus like the agave once it is really warmed up. A lot of cacti need a long summer to get their roots established before it gets cold. But you can see how placing two plants with very different leaf forms next to each other can be interesting. And by the way, usually when we see an agave that's not doing well, it's because it has had too much water. Excuse me. So here are two trees with very interesting bark. On the left is an excellent shade tree that the city of Albuquerque has been planting a lot of in the past couple decades. It doesn't produce the annoying seeds that sprout everywhere, like our aging Siberian elms, and it's a fast grower. The tree on the right is an alligator juniper. Now you're going to have to be patient for the bark to get to this point, but it's visually appealing. Also, if you're planting a tree, make sure it's one from our list, so it's eligible for a tree bait of up to $100 or 25% of the cost of the tree as a credit on your water bill. To find the correct webpage, go to 505outside.com. At the top middle of the page, click on Rebate drop-down menu, then Residential, then Tree Baits. So this is to mention the benefits of trees and how to water them correctly, especially if you're going to remove the lawn after I do a site visit. Trees provide valuable shade and filter the air we breathe. They can also reduce air conditioning costs if planted in a correct location. Studies have also shown that patients in hospital recover faster when they have a view of a beautiful greenscape. So Albuquerque's tree population has been declining, and that's why we want to encourage you to plant more trees and to take care of the ones we have. Now that we've reminded ourselves of the benefits of trees, we can review the best management practices for keeping the existing trees happy, such as wood chip mulch and adequate water. This picture shows a large tree that used to be surrounded by lawn, which was removed in 2020. Typically, we would see a tree in this situation decline over the next few years without adequate water once the lawn is gone. These landscapers, though, knew what to do and installed a shade-tolerant ground cover with drip irrigation underneath the tree. That way, the trees get enough water going forward. So here's what the drip tubing would look like underneath the wood chips. It reaches all the way to the drip line of the tree, which is where the canopy ends. Remember, trees that are established don't need water right at the trunk. They want it further out where the small feeder roots are. Now, if you're not installing plants under a big tree, you could still water like this, but you'd want to have this drip tubing on a separate valve or zone. That way you can water the tree less frequently than the perennials and shrubs that you might have in other areas. So we want to water trees for a longer period of time, less often than smaller plant material. And again, because our New Mexico sunshine breaks down plastic quickly, we want to make sure the drip tubing is underneath the mulches. And if you're using wood chips, remember, skip the weed fabric. It prevents the chips from breaking down and improving the soil over time. So here's a close-up picture of two types of drip irrigation that achieve the same goal. The picture on the left is a drip emitter placed directly into the half-inch tubing, and the picture on the right is of inline tubing. It has pre-punched holes every 6, 12, or 18 inches. Now, if you're going to use the flag emitters, like the picture on the left, place them sticking out the side of the tubing, not like in the picture. That way they don't break off if you step on them by accident. Here are two more pictures of mature trees with plantings underneath them. Another benefit of planting shrubs and perennials under trees is as they mature, they will shade the ground, which will slow the evaporation rate around the tree roots. Spreading wood-based mulch is a great way to improve soil, retain moisture, and keep weeds out, and provide a layer of insulation for plant roots. Many long-term scientific studies prove wood mulch is best for most plants, especially trees. The benefits of wood chip mulch are improved soil nutrition and its ability to hold water, less expensive and easier to install than gravel. And wood chips also have lots of natural insect repellents and does not attract cockroaches. Many birds, such as roadrunners, have an easier time finding insects in wood chips as opposed to gravel. And free wood chip mulch can be found on the website Chip Drop or from local tree companies that have often had piles of it to give away. And Chip Drop is spelled CHIPDROP, and you will find them on the web. Also, often the East Mountain Transfer Station in Tijeras sells 3 cubic yards of mulch for $5, but do give them a call before you head out there. We recommend a 3 to 4 inch layer of mulch, keeping a small area around the trunk free of it. So you don't want to pile up mulch against the trunk or base of a plant. We also started a wood chip mulch rebate that you can take advantage of every year. Spend $400, get $100 back on your bill. Wood chips will likely need to be top dressed for new mulch every 3 years or so, but it's fast and a good time to fix up and revisit your yard. If you're not convinced of the benefits of tree mulch and prefer gravel, at least make large rings of mulch around the mature trees, like in this photo. It can help break up the space and define walking paths. Wood chips also do a good job of hiding debris like leaves and twigs. If you have pine trees with gravel underneath them and are tired of trying to rake out the pine needles, replace the gravel with mulch and let the pine needles stay when they fall down. It creates a more habitable environment for the tree roots. So I also want to touch on the benefits of directing rainwater to your plants. The picture in this slide shows a catchment area with plants inside them. If you're going to have a dry stream bed of cobble in your Xeriscape yard, don't forget to install plants and trees inside of it, where the water will do the most good. Manipulating the topography of a flat site also it creates variations in visual interest as well as saving on landfill costs. If you're regrading your yard and it's large enough to absorb the excess dirt, you can try creating berms in addition to swales to mix it up a bit, like the picture on the left. So this slide shows several options for getting the rainwater from the gutters or downspouts to the plants. The picture on the left shows us what is called a rain chain. It allows the water to reach the ground without damaging the stucco or the need for a downspout. To get the water across the sidewalk, the homeowner cut out a short section of it with a concrete saw. They then installed a short length of pipe with a paver mat on top so there's no trip hazard. The picture in the middle shows a project I completed years ago. The downspout is directed to a 4-inch drain pipe that goes under a path to a tree. This eliminated the need to have a swale crossing the path. The picture on the far right, is of a large rain cistern. So you can attach a hose to the bottom spigot and use the rainwater as needed. Speaking of rainwater harvesting, this is a good time to mention a great local resource provided by Bernalillo County. You'll want to go to bernco.gov and then click on the search icon at the top right. Then type in rainwater harvesting. It'll take you to their field guide for passive rainwater harvesting, which explains some of the benefits as well as design, installation, care, and maintenance. And here's a picture of that guide here. Rain barrels and cisterns are great in the right location, but they can fill up quickly with a small amount of rain. A larger rain event, like 1 inch, produces 600 gallons of water off of a 1,000 square foot roof. And that's why you want to direct it towards the landscape where it can soak in and benefit the landscape the most, because your rain barrel might only catch 50 gallons of that 600. And also, please sign up for the Water Authority's monthly newsletter. It has helpful tips about landscaping and gardening in New Mexico and features a plant of the month that you can purchase at a local nursery. You can sign up by going to 505outside.com, then clicking on resources at the top right, then scrolling to the bottom and click on the Sign Up Today link to enter your email address. So Albuquerque residents like yourself have done a great job of reducing our daily per person usage over the past 3 decades. In 1994, it was 250 gallons. And last year, we were about half that at 125 gallons per day per person. Our goal is 110 gallons, which we are hoping to reach by 2037. And landscape irrigation is at least 40% of all water used. So if we were to water our grass more efficiently and only as much as it needs, we could reach our goal much sooner. So that's all I have for today. I want to thank you for attending.